Almost any time you listen to business news on NPR or CNN or Fox News or whatever, invariably the term local business climate comes up. Is the city or county or state friendly to local business? Meaning usually fewer regulations and lower taxes, and this is particularly true, of course, for small businesses. So we constantly read about this state or that region being more or less business friendly or more or less small business friendly. What we don't hear much about is what it is like to be employed by small businesses in different parts of the country. And that was the thrust of a study done by WalletHub, a personal finance website that not only helps users compare financial products, but also takes a closer look at the issues that affect consumers' wallets. WalletHub analyzed the small business environment within the 100 most populated U.S. metro areas to assess their friendliness toward employees and job seekers. Here to discuss those results with us is Jill Gonzalez of WalletHub. Hello, Jill.
Hi, Dirk. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Well, let me make sure I said this right, and I understand the main thrust of your survey. WalletHub wanted to know which cities were the best or the worst as employees for small businesses. So you weren't looking at the small business environment for small businesses, but the attitudes of people working for small businesses in different cities. Do I have that right?
A combination of the two. So we looked at 11 different metrics across two categories. We did include the small business environment. We also looked at the city's economic environment as a whole.
Okay, and what were some of the key metrics, or what were you trying to measure with the questions that you were asking?
Sure. So that first category I mentioned, that's made up of the number of small businesses within a certain city. Job and wage growth, both are important. Average annual salaries and industry variety. And then that second category is more made up on unemployment rates, length of an average workday, and population growth.
Okay, were there any questions that related to, I don't know, was it a friendly work environment? I mean, things that kind of the touchy-feely end of things, as opposed to, let's say, the financial end of it for you.
Those qualitative metrics are a little bit harder to gauge, but we did include the Gallup Healthways poll of the well-being within a city. So that is something that we wanted to include, so not just the economic factors here, but those other touchy-feely factors as well.
Okay. Now, really often we hear, at least in our industry, that that money isn't everything to workers, that perhaps this work environment that we were just discussing here is more important. Did your study show that work environment, the touchy-feely stuff, had much of an impact on the overall quality of working for a small business in those different regions?
Sure. So it's going to be two things. I think people's first job, obviously, it's a graduation season. People are looking for jobs, whether it's at a big business or a lot smaller. So when you're looking for that first job, I think that matters a little bit less. But if you're laying down roots to really start a career, that's when a lot of other things are really going to come into effect. So maybe the age of the population, what the percentage of the population is that's maybe 25 to 34 years old. What's the single life like there? What's the family life like there, if that's what you're looking to build? So that's when a lot more factors do come into play.
Now, did you, and I should have asked you this ahead of time because I'm not sure about this, has WalletHub also done kind of the traditional business climate survey? What's it like for, business owners to operate in different regions? And I guess the reason I'm asking that is if you know if there's any correlation between the business climate for business owners versus the climate for the employees as we're talking about right now.
There are a lot of similarities. So it's going to be a little different from an entrepreneurial standpoint. For instance, an employee might be looking for the shortest work days, right? But an employer, an entrepreneur who wants to really bring people in to start working for his or her first company, they want people who are willing to go the extra mile, who want to work longer work days, maybe work for a little bit less. So it is kind of the opposite end of the spectrum there.
And I noticed that at the top of the study, and I think these guys end up at the top very often, it was North Carolina. North Carolina is normally touted as having a good business climate in general for businesses large or small. are there any things that kind of leaped out that might tell us why that would be? Why employees for small businesses in North Carolina, we have your slide up here, Charlotte, it looks like Charlotte was at the top. What makes Charlotte, North Carolina so special that it raises to the top of your list?
Yeah, so those cities are often touted, those research triangle cities. So it really wasn't a surprise there. Smaller research and tech-focused cities like Charlotte, like Raleigh, Oklahoma City as well, they ranked in the top 3. And then when you look at the bottom of the list, you see a lot of Rust Belt cities. So Youngstown, Ohio, Toledo, Ohio, Scranton, PA. And that's really no surprise there. Those are cities that know that they're not doing as well in the business climate, especially economy-wise, and they're looking to get into some other fields, so they can't be steel cities anymore, unfortunately. Since the 70s, that really all has declined, and of course, since this tech era, they need to be getting into some alternate fields and really recruiting people who are willing to do some more different kinds of work there, not so much manufacturing anymore. I think where people might be surprised, and especially young grads, New York, Chicago, LA, all in the bottom half of the list. And that's because, they're not thinking about how much of their paycheck goes toward really just making it rent, scraping by. So that's where these smaller cities really exceed.
You mentioned something, you mentioned manufacturing. So did you see any kind of trend in terms of what these small businesses were? So I guess what I'm looking for here is, were the happy small business employees generally in tech companies and the unhappy small business employees in manufacturing companies, or was there anything that leaped out at you about this?
As a general rule, yes, exactly what you said. Healthcare and education were 2 other big fields that really did well when we were looking at it. Manufacturing, again, it's really on the decline. We have noticed, especially in Toledo, they have been taking risks lately. So they do have a Jeep plant there. It's been doing really well. I don't think that's closing anytime in the near future. But a couple solar energy fields and plants have been developing there as well. And they're showing a little bit of market growth there. So I think these other Rust Belt cities can kind of follow in Toledo's footsteps and really take risks. They know what they're doing isn't working. So bringing in those alternate energy plants and things like that, again, more recruitment opportunities are there. That's where I think they can really excel next year, hopefully in the ranking.
Okay, now, the purpose of WalletHub, I'm assuming, and of the survey, is to help people. So how should a potential employee for a small business look at this survey, and what should they take out of it? What is the takeaway for them, maybe when they're going to look at a job? How is this helping them?
Sure. Well, I think it's just really opening your eyes to smaller cities that you might not have considered for small businesses. So I think that's the number 1 step. And 2, we talk to a lot of academic experts and kind of get their feel for what small businesses are doing, what their outlook is looking like. So they mentioned a few things, especially if you are interviewing for a job at one of these small businesses, and that's employees of 250 or under. So really a lot of different sizes there. I think a business at 250 people and a business at about 5 people are going to look very different. But either way, you really want to go in there and ask how you can play a role in the growth of the company, first and foremost. Ask about benefits. So if a business is too small to offer them at first, see if they offer any kind of reimbursement plans, maybe transportation plans, anything like that. And then later on, maybe see if there's an opportunity to acquire equity in the company at some point. I mean, Facebook, Snapchat, these places all started as small businesses, and they're really rapidly growing now. And I think that's something that a lot of people interviewing for jobs are looking forward to and really hoping for.
Okay, well, Jill Gonzalez of WalletHub, thanks a lot for joining us this morning. Really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day.
Anytime, Dirk. Thanks for having me. Have a great weekend.
Okay, thank you. And you can find out more on the WalletHub study by following the link below the player page down there. You might want to look up how your town or region did in the WalletHub survey. Okay.